Hello and welcome. My name is Mrreeeee and welcome to my Resto Druid guide for Mythic Plus. As you can see here, I've been playing Resto Druid now since the launch of Dragonflight, and I've actually never played a healer in M+, but received a Mythic Plus score now of about 2200 and timed my first 18 this week, which was pretty cool, and hoping to get up to 20s and complete 20s for all the dungeons. So thank you for coming, and I hope to go through some talents, tips and tricks, and whatever I can to help you in playing a Resto Druid this tier. They are pretty much the top healer for M+, so that's got it going for us, and I have only 2 set currently, but I think you could still push up pretty high. I am locked out in one of the better trinkets. This Primal Ritual Shell is a lucky and underrated trinket. Please check it out. But I'd like to go through, what it takes to achieve if you really want to push M+, as Resto Druid, and some of the things I've learned along the way. So, first off, stats-wise, haste is top for Resto Druids. The quicker you can spellcast, the quicker you can put out your dots and hots, and the quicker they tick. So haste is a must. Followed by mastery and a bit of verse, but just haste. But I mean, really for my gearing, I haven't done much. I mean, if it's an upgrade intellect-wise, I put it on. Right? Intellect's better as a main stat. The only things that really changed was my rings. I made sure that I had a lot of haste or mastery in my ring slots. The neck, I've got the Elemental Lariat, which I recommend building as soon as possible for the proc. And then I lucked out with the Whispering Incarnate Icon, which is probably the best trigger for a lot of classes. And this Primal Ritual Shell has a hidden heal, which currently is sitting on Mastery. That should be set to a Water Turtle, which you can activate and look at. But yeah, that's my pretty much stat sets for Resto Druid. And then we go into our talents. So let's look at our talents and trees. This is the kind of build you should see and most common see across a lot of Resto Druids right now. I have changed it more to more defensive. A couple of Resto Druid builds might have, we'll go down this line here and pick up Rip, Feral Swiftness, and Primal Fury, instead of going the Iron Fur, Thick Hide, and Matted Fur. I prefer this because I'm not too confident between cat weaving. I'm still trying to learn and maximize cat weaving in the higher keys. But at higher keys anyway, I'm still blasting. With the amount of casters they have that are out there, I'm still blasting out so much damage. I really don't have time to cat weave. So I'm playing more defensive, but you can play more offensive here. You definitely want to pick up the Sunfire. That's a quick one to do is shift into Sunfire. I then shift into my cat form and apply Thrash to all the targets, and that's at least got some dots running across the board. The actual biggest DPS here is Nature's Vigil. And this is huge amount of damage in big pools if you can get all your dots up. And I've actually got a macro running where a Flourish. So every time I Flourish, they're on the same cooldown. I'm activating Nature's Vigil, and that's a definite macro you should use in cross raiding, PvP, whatever you're using Flourish. Nature's Vigil should be attached, because really you're flourishing when you have max amount of hots on everyone. You've got your Wild Growth throwing, you've got Rejuves out, you've got Life Bloom ticking. You know, you've either come off a Convoke and you want to Flourish, and as soon as all those hots are popping, that's when the damage is going to come real good for the Nature's Vigil. So that's a definite macro you should make. And cross the board, really innovate is really good, and some standard. I'd pick up here. I prefer Dash over Wild Charge. It's got me out of so many predicaments in M+. Really, with the new affix Thundering, I think Tiger Dash is a must-take. You quickly get across someone who's not paying attention. You can quickly get out of danger. That move speed is just really nice compared to Wild Charge, so I've been playing around with that. And then over to our healing talents. I think pretty much standard here. A lot of Druids are running Flash of Clarity, having that clear class of a regrowth when your dots are proccing, you can just throw down a regrowth is awesome. And then Nature's Swiftness is a must too. Again, as a Resto Druid and in keys, you know, I'm 100% keeping my F-flow up at all times so that players sitting in there tricking with the Flourish. And from this, I'm always trying to keep Rejuves on everybody. So there's always hots running to proc that. And Wages just pumps into when we need to single target heal. And that's really where I've played around with and found my success in this build. You see I've picked up Cenarian Ward. I've gone both the Ironbark procs with the cooldown reducing and the increased healing from Ironbark. And then I kind of pick up Adaptive Swarm and I go down the photosynthesis for the Life Bloom. And I think Life Bloom is your key here. Really, when I finish a key, my most heal the top here will be Life Bloom. And that's because this is how you increase your AoE healing, and B, increase your single target healing. So most of the time in a key, I'm finding I'm dotting up. They're either going to be AoE abilities or I'm going to pick people up quickly. And if I pick people up quickly, I'm going to apply a Life Bloom, which is going to make them on ally increase the periodic healing. It's then going to proc your Harvest Blooming, which is a must-take talent. So it gets 3 stacks of your Mastery Harmony. And that relates to your Mastery. It says that your healing is increased by 9% for each rejuve on the target. So your Life Bloom is coming out for... That's nearly 10% Mastery. So 30% extra healing is coming out on that target. So instantly if a target gets hit, I'm Life Blooming them. I'm going to either hopefully Nature Swiftness if I need to and throw a Regrowth. I'm going to pick them up as quick as I can. If they're in real danger, I'll Cenarian Ward. Or I can even Swift Man. There's so many good ways to pick people up when they get low. Otherwise, I'm just sitting rejuves. You know? Okay, someone's low. Regrowth. If there's a lot of damage, I'll throw a Wild Growth across the board. I'll rejuve and then instantly Swift Man. I'll rejuve instantly Nature Swiftness. I'll rejuve Ironbark. I'll rejuve Cenarian Ward. Like, they're all the 4 different types of way that I can instantly pick someone, hopefully stop them from dying and pick them up really quickly. On tanks, it could be all at once. You know, I'm going to start with a Life Bloom and a Rejuve. I'm going to Scenario Warn him. That's going to drop off. Okay, then I'm going to Ironbark him. That's going to drop. I'm going to Swift Hand and then channel some Regrowths. And by that's done, Scenario Ward's back. Like, you can rotate so much single target healing in your rotation. And then the rest of your team, even though you're single targeting, you can throw in your Wild Growths. They're all sitting in F-Flow and procking. And this is where Verdancy actually comes to see. If you can get a group that's really melee, Verdancy is amazing. When the Life Bloom moves up to 3 targets when everyone's healed for 11,000, so you got 2 Life Blooms running because of photosynthesis, because of undergrowth, sorry. You may have 2 targets at once. So I've got 2 Life Blooms proccing, and if they're staying in my airflow, then Verdancy's proccing. So my heals are naturally healing through that process. I think Convoke, and I am toying about changing from Flourish. Saying, no, we just before about having people in the Efflorescence, some range don't really stand there, but I have a more range cop. I think it could be more value shifting into Cenarian's Guidance here and losing Flourish because people aren't standing in it. You're not getting the real value, and I think the minute cooldown on this Convoke Experience is amazing. This 2-minute cooldown is like, oh, surprise damage comes up, and I can just click it, and I'll just start instantly healing pop. It's like a cheaper Trank. I use this more than I use this, like to keep people up. Honestly, if I'm going through a dungeon, and there's first of all, like say we're doing Halls of Valor, and the Herja boss with the thunderstorming, right? Like the first thing I'm going to do in that situation when everyone's taking damage, I'm Life Blooming myself, which increases my periodic healing on everybody. And then I'm going to Wild Growth, rejuve as many as I can, chuck up a Flourish. And that will keep that whole phase of AoE damage. The next time, I'm going to Wild Growth, throw up some rejuves, Life Bloom, and then I'm going to Trank. You know, the third time, I'm going to Life Bloom, Rejuve, and then I'm going to Convoke the Spirits. Like, and by that time, I'm back, my Flourishes back up. Like, there's a reason these guys, Druids, are doing so well. They have so much utility, not just a single target, but AoE. You know, and you just pump the heals. I got up to like 100k healing in some fights, and they're just beautiful. I think they're a really fun class. And I think too, even in Raiden, in knowing if you're tracking big wigs and tracking their cooldowns, like Wild Growth and as a hot, right? You're all hot, so you can you know when scripted abilities come out, you can pre-dot. So as soon as they hit, they're instantly getting healed compared to other classes where you're reacting to the heals. Druid gets to put them out. I think Adaptive Swarm is again, you're stacking up your periodic heals and getting across that mastery proc, so that the more periodic healing you have, the increasing. It also has that it increases the effectiveness of periodic effects on them by 25%. I think this is huge, and I think this is another secret. We'll get into the tips and tricks, but I'll try and explore Adaptive Swarm more. But I think this, throughout a dungeon in M+, and through the momentum, Adaptive Swarm, you can maintain through a whole dungeon, and if you don't have a wipe where it's going to drop off, you can get 5 stacks on everybody just pumping, and the swarms are going, they're DPSing, they're healing. It's just a really good ability to have, and I think that's why I've picked up Adaptive Swarm against it compared to others. Soul the Forest, huge. You know, if you think you want a bigger Wild Growth and you want to increase that damage can be a lot. You know, you're going to Swiftman first and throw it a Wild Growth and get everybody up. I think that's a key for raiding more than M+, but it's really good to know and really benefits Swiftman. So that's my talent choices and why I've chosen them. Now I just want to go into like tips and tricks of what I thought about M+. First one, we'll just have a look at the macros I'm using. I'm only using the Flourish macro, just here. I'll show my tooltip, cast Flourish and Angel Sigil for the 1.5 damage. I don't think I have any other. Everything else, that's my only macro that I have running. Everything else is make sure that, for the love of God, you're playing Mouse over, I use the add-on click. I think the new system of mouse over is much better from what I've heard. I'm just comfortable with this, so I haven't really gone back. And you just can click over. Once click is active, bind spell, and you just bind it to an ability. And this is a must. You can't be M+ healing if you're not mouse overing. So wherever my mouse is, it casts all these abilities. It's like, this is... that second you take to click someone's frame and cast is just wasted. So please make sure that you are using mouse over. So that was a big change for me and definitely helps. Tips and tricks. Big thing you need to know as a Druid if you're following these talents. Like, managing life bloom on yourself is so big. So life bloom is kind of interesting. First of all, once it's on, you don't want to remove it because then it won't bloom. So it's kind of managing when do I need to remove it, when I don't. So you really don't want to move it unless it's an emergency. If I've got some of my teammates who are dropping down low and I need to pick them up quick, I have to life bloom first to get those mastery box into a regrowth, into a swiftman, whatever I can to get them back up. That's what the first thing you should do is the life bloom to get them up. If I don't have to and I can pick them up with a rejuve, I'm going to keep it on myself or the tank so that it blooms verdancy and then procs and heals everybody. So you've got to make that decision. When am I going to move life bloom that I need to save someone, or when can I just keep it on myself and let it bloom? The other part of life bloom as well is that you want to get the Piro heals faster. So you must, every time you're using flourish, you're using trank, you're wild growthing, life bloom, as you're doing raid wild healing, that life bloom has to be on top of you to get the bonus of that heal, and then you can life bloom someone else. So it's kind of like, I try to keep life bloom on myself and then move between tank and players. Like tanks, if they're good tanks, like less like DKs or warriors, like you'll be surprised they can maintain themselves. There'll be other players getting hit by caster abilities, standing in something, like that's where your heals need to be. And then you can throw back with it just a scenario water and rejuve on the tank and use your life bloom to keep people up. So I think that was a big part of me. It was I wasn't life blooming and moving it around as much, and I should have been. And then once I started to master when I can move and take off my life bloom, I was getting through the fights much easier. Adaptive Swarm. So Adaptive Swarm is very interesting. I use LVY to track the bus, but it starts at 3 stacks, and then it says it has a 60% chance to split each time it jumps. So what happens is throughout a fight, every 25 seconds, if you track where it is at right now, you can maintain it on everybody. And so what you do is every time you pick the highest number, you track on all 5 targets, 3, 4, 5 stacks. It's like refreshing the 5 stacks. So all 5 stacks have a chance to split up. And you can go the whole dungeon with these bonus 25 periodic healing on all your players. I think a lot of people just throw it out. Like when I wasn't tracking this buff, I would just, oh, okay, Mrreeeee, it's on cooldown, boom, I'll just throw it out. I wasn't putting it on top of players who already had it because I wasn't tracking it on LVY. But once I started tracking it, well, then I'm getting a whole dungeon where Adaptive Swarm is like up 80% of the time. It's improving my healing effects, and it's doing damage in fight, and it's healing. Like, it is a huge M+. The downside is, like I said, if you die, you lose that momentum, all the stacks are gone, and you have to start again. But I think that's a big a hidden tip and trick that I think players aren't utilizing, and you really should as a Resto Druid. Look, I think they're a wonderful class. I really don't see... I'd be interested to see the changes or nerfs they make, if they're going to make nerfs, but I mean, it's good to have such a wonderful class to play as a healer. If you guys liked and found this video educational about the talents and tips of a Resto Druid, please add some comments below, subscribe to my channel, hit me up on my Twitch. I'm happy to do a PvP video or a raid video of the talents I'm using, but I thought I'd just get a little Resto introduction, tips and tricks of what you can do as a healer. So thanks for watching.